Since I'm gonna calculate NPV as present value of all future cash flows less initial cost, let's calculate the present values. PV just to make sure that I'm controlling for the life of the project. If the year is greater than life of the project, 0, otherwise take the cash flow divided by 1 plus cost of capital. Let me actually go back. Let me actually give names to these cells. Cost of capital, I'm going to call that cost let's call this initial cost. Let's call this project life. That way I don't have to specifically make them absolute in formulas. So if year is greater than project life, 0, otherwise take the cash flow divided by 1 plus cost of capital raised to the power number of years. Oh yeah, I should have added the last parenthesis. Make that pink, bold. Actually, I want to make it a different color. All right. The reason I want to control for life of the project, when you're using this template, if from your previous use you had some stuff left here, by mistake you forgot to clear it, it prevents you from making a mistake. Now let's calculate NPV. It's basically sum of these present values, right? I'm going to make that actually red. Let me make it dark. Okay. So what's the decision rule on NPV? Accept the project if NPV is greater than 0. Now let's think about what NPV does. Does it take all the cash flows into account? Yes or no? Why not? You're shaking your head. No, I'm asking the first one. Does it take all the cash flows into account? The way it's calculated, present value of future cash flows less the cost of capital, cost of the project. By its very definition, it takes all of them into account. It calculates present value of all the future cash flows and minus initial cost. Does it take time value of the money into account? Remember, time value says $1 today is not the same as $1 tomorrow, right? Since we're discounting all the future cash flows, it takes time value of the money into account. Number 3 is kind of a trick question. On the surface of it, we just have one discount rate, but that discount rate should be commensurate with the risk of the project. So it does that, but in a roundabout way. Does it indicate how much value added to the firm? Given the riskiness? If you think about it, that's what NPV is. It basically says discounting these future cash flows at a rate that is commensurate with the risk of the project minus the cost of project. That's how much value you're adding to the firm. So NPV actually does all of that. Okay? And we're gonna get a little bit fancy. Let me actually change the background color of this to help me in that. And let me see, let me make that purple. All right. Let's see. I'm going to also calculate something over here. I'm going to call this PI. It's short for profitability index. It's basically 1 plus NPV divided by initial cost. Let's see. Let me make that purple too. This is also another, the so-called profitability index. PI, not pi, but come on, man. Which is 1 plus NPV divided by cost of project or initial cost. You may have seen this in your basic finance as present value of future cash flows divided by the cost of project, but it's the same thing. And PI rule is accept the project if PI is greater than 1, which is the same thing as accepting the project if NPV is greater than 0. These work fine when the project is standalone, but if projects are mutually exclusive, so you have 2 projects, you could either accept A or B or neither, but you cannot accept both. Then you have to do a ranking. In that case, PI and NPV may produce different results, because PI is a per dollar measure, okay? NPV is a total measure. PI doesn't know anything about the scale of the problem. You may have a small project that has a high PI, per dollar you make a lot of money, but you may have a larger project, even though per dollar it doesn't make as much money, it's actually adding a lot more value to the firm. So for example, PI doesn't satisfy that fourth requirement we have. It doesn't tell us anything about how much value is added to the fund. But since I already have it, I'm just gonna, let me actually use a different font color for this, yellow. Actually, just a normal number. It doesn't have a dollar interpretation. Just to tell us directly whether to accept or not. Let me see. Under Home tab, I'm gonna hit Conditional Formatting. Icon sets, I'm gonna do these traffic lights. It did something by default. And manage rules, edit rule. I'm gonna do it based on the number itself. I'm gonna kind of be